Hello, this is Anna. I will tell you Monica's story today, which is named as follows. When I was 7, my mother abandoned me. She only claimed half of the estate to raise her children when she attended my dad's burial 20 years later. That money is not necessary for you. You're by yourself. No one is interested in you. In court, we met. I'm Monica, and I'm 27 years old. My father passed away from a heart attack at his workplace 3 days ago. It seemed as though he was working on a construction project 1 minute, and then he was gone the next. It was rapid, according to the paramedic. That should, I assume, cheer me up, but it doesn't. Everything was planned by me, including the cemetery site, the funeral home, the flowers, and the service. I could afford to do it correctly since Dad had money. His business associates arrived. These were men he had collaborated with for years on developing homes around the city. He was joined by his golf club pals. Some of his construction site workers even came to pay their respects. They were all telling me how nice a man he was, how he provided them with constant job, and how he assisted them in difficult circumstances. The service was good. The minister spoke of Dad's love and kindness for his family. At any rate, what remained of his family? Only me. After Mom departed, the only other person who truly mattered to Dad was Grandma, who had passed away 2 years prior. As I watched them drop the casket, I was standing at the graveyard when I heard someone yell my name, Monica. I froze when I turned around. My mother was standing 10 feet away, accompanied by 3 children and an unfamiliar-looking man. The youngest appeared to be approximately 10, and the oldest around 16. Like they belonged here, they were all clothed in gloomy clothing. It had been 20 years since I last saw her. Clearly, she appeared older. She had a new hairstyle, darker and shorter. It was unquestionably her, even if she had gained weight. "What are you doing here?" I inquired. My voice sounded harsh and icy. "How were you ever aware of his passing?" "I kept it from you," she stated. I heard from some relatives. The man next her touched her shoulder. He wore a pursuit, was tall, and was balding. She must have fled with this boyfriend all those years ago. Behind them were 3 children who appeared uneasy. "I can't believe you didn't invite me to the funeral," she said. "He was my husband once." There at my father's grave, I laughed, really laughed. "Your spouse? 20 years ago, you left him. You abandoned us both." The memories flooded back. It happened when I was 7 years old. Dad had been upstate on business to inspect a piece of real estate. His absence was only expected to last 2 days. When his car pulled out of the driveway, Mom waited. She then began packing. I recall inquiring about her destination. She said, "Mommy has to go away for a while, you remain here. Daddy will return shortly." She didn't wait for Daddy, though. She left a note on the kitchen table after packing 2 luggage. After that, she exited the building and took off in her vehicle. For 2 full days, she left me alone in that house. I was terrified beyond belief. I had no idea how to prepare anything else, so I ate cereal for breakfast and lunch. While I waited for someone to get home, I watched TV. I kept expecting Mom to return and realize she had forgotten something, but she never did. I was sitting on the couch in the same clothes I had been wearing for the past 2 days when Dad finally returned home. I sobbed as I rushed to him and informed him that Mom had left. Her note was read by him. His face turned white, but I never saw what it said. He then tossed it in the garbage after crumpling it up, saying aloud, more to himself than to me, "Your mother is finished." After that, everything occurred quickly. Dad dialed his attorney. Documents were submitted. The divorce and custody hearing was scheduled to take place in court, but Mom never showed up. The judge revoked her parental rights and gave Dad full custody. She was suddenly legally no longer a part of our lives. Mom had been having an affair with a guy from her workplace, Dad later revealed to me. For months, they had been preparing for this, waiting for the ideal time to flee together. My father had left town at that point, leaving me defenseless and alone. 20 years later, she was there with her partner and their 3 children, pretending to have a legitimate reason to attend her father's burial. She pointed to the children and remarked, "Monica, these are your brothers and sisters. This is Tommy. He is 16 years old. Emily is 13 years old. Little Mike is 10 years old. I gave them a look. They gave me a questioning glance in return. It is likely that they were unaware of my identity or the reason their mother had taken them to a stranger's funeral. When I said, "I don't care," I turned my back on her and headed for my car. I didn't turn around when I heard her shouting my name. I didn't know what to say to her. She would now have to live with the decision she had made a long time ago. As I drove home, I thought about the past 20 years. Together, Dad and I had worked things out. At first, it was challenging. He was inconsolable and constantly trying to keep Mom's actions out of his mind. Dad's mother, Grandma, moved in to help look after me, and I spent most of my time with her. However, Dad's business flourished. He used all of his anguish and rage as fuel for his art. He began earning more money and landing bigger projects. We relocated to a large home in the most desirable area of the city. He never remarried, never even had a serious girlfriend, though women tried. He said I was enough family for him. I went to college on Dad's dime, studied business administration. He bought me an apartment when I graduated. I got a good job, but I didn't really need to work because of what Grandma left me when she died. She'd saved up $200,000 over the years. Plus, she left me her house. I sold the house and invested everything smartly. I could live off the interest if I wanted to, but I liked having something to do. And now he was gone, and I was alone. Well, not completely alone. He'd left me everything: the business, the house, his cars, all his money. I'd found his will in his desk drawer. It was simple and clear: everything goes to Monica. I guess Mom found out about that somehow. That's probably why she showed up today. Not because she was sad about Dad dying, but because she wanted to know what she could get out of it. A few days passed after the funeral, and I tried to get back to some kind of normal routine. Normal being a relative term when your whole world just got turned upside down. I had to deal with Dad's company, figure out what to do with all his assets, handle the legal stuff that comes with someone dying. I decided not to sell the construction business. Dad had built it from nothing, and it felt wrong to just get rid of it. Plus, it was making good money. Jim, Dad's deputy, had been with the company for 15 years. He knew the business inside and out, and Dad trusted him completely. So I made him CEO and kept ownership for myself. It seemed like the right thing to do. I was in my apartment, going through some of Dad's paperwork when the doorbell rang. It was Tuesday afternoon, around 3 o'clock. I wasn't expecting anyone, so I looked through the peephole before opening the door. It was her, my mother, standing there alone this time. No husband, no kids. She was wearing jeans and a sweater, looking nervous. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. "What do you want? Can I come in? Just give me a few minutes." Against my better judgment, I stepped aside and let her into my living room. She looked around, taking in the nice furniture, the big windows, the expensive art on the walls. "This is a beautiful place," she said. "How did you get my address?" I asked around. "Some of your father's distant relatives gave it to me." Great. So, now she was tracking me down through family connections. "What do you want?" I asked again. She sat down on my couch without being invited. "Monica, I know you inherited a lot of money from your father and from your grandmother, too." I felt my stomach drop. How the hell did she know about Grandma's money? "What's your point?" "My point is that you're very wealthy now. And I think you should share some of that wealth with your family." I stared at her. "My family?" "Yes. With me and your brothers and sisters. Those 3 children you met at the funeral. They're your half-siblings, Monica. They need help with school, with college funds, with basic living expenses." I actually laughed. I couldn't help it. "Are you serious right now?" "Completely serious. You're single. You don't have children of your own to worry about. You have more money than you could ever spend. Meanwhile, I'm struggling to raise 3 kids on my husband's salary." "Let me get this straight," I said, sitting down across from her. "You abandoned me when I was 7 years old. You left me alone in an empty house for 2 days. You never called, never wrote, never sent a birthday card, never asked how I was doing for 20 years, and now you want me to give you money." She had the decency to look ashamed for about 2 seconds. Then she straightened up and got defensive. "I never loved your father, Monica. I couldn't live with him anymore. But I knew he would take care of you. You were always his little princess. You left me because you wanted to run off with your boyfriend, and you didn't want to be bothered with a kid." Her face got red. "That's not true, isn't it? Then why didn't you fight for custody? Why didn't you even show up to court?" She didn't have an answer for that. And now, I continued, now that Dad's dead and you found out I inherited his money, suddenly you remember you have a daughter. Suddenly you want a relationship. But really, what you want is half of everything. "It's not about the money," she said, but her voice wasn't convincing. "The hell it isn't. You didn't love Dad, but you sure love his money now." She tried a different approach. "Monica, those children are innocent in all this. They didn't do anything wrong. Tommy wants to go to college, but we can't afford it. Emily needs braces. Little Mike has learning disabilities and needs special tutoring. They're your brothers and sisters." "No, they're not. They're your children with the man you left us for. They're nothing to me." "How can you be so cold?" "Cold? You want to talk about cold? You left a 7-year-old alone in a house for 2 days. You never contacted that child for 20 years, and now you show up demanding money. That's cold." She stood up, getting frustrated. "You have millions of dollars, Monica. More than one person needs. I'm asking for help with my children's education and basic needs. Then ask their father. Ask your husband. Don't ask the daughter you threw away. Your father turned you against me. My father never said a bad word about you to me. He didn't have to. Your actions spoke for themselves." She was getting desperate now. I could see it in her eyes. "Monica, please. I'm begging you. Just think about it. These kids are struggling, and you could help them with pocket change compared to what you have." "You know what's funny?" I said, walking toward the door. "You keep talking about what a caring mother you are now. How worried you are about your children's futures. But 20 years ago, you cared so little about your child that you left her alone and terrified for 2 days. I was young. I made mistakes. I opened the door. I want you to leave. Monica, please. Leave now." She walked toward the door, then turned back. "This isn't over. Those children deserve better." "Yeah, they do. They deserve a mother who doesn't abandon her kids when things get tough." After she left, I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on my couch, shaking. I couldn't believe the nerve of that woman. 20 years of nothing, and now she wanted half of everything Dad had worked for. I thought about those 3 kids. I felt bad for them. I really did. It wasn't their fault their mother was selfish, and their father apparently couldn't provide for them properly. But they weren't my responsibility. I didn't owe them anything. Dad had worked his ass off to build the life we had. After Mom left, he could have fallen apart. Instead, he channeled his pain into building something better for us. He earned every dollar he left me. I wasn't going to let her guilt me into giving it away. 2 weeks later, I got a letter from a law firm I'd never heard of. My hands were shaking as I opened it. It was a lawsuit. My mother was suing me for half of Dad's estate. I called my lawyer immediately after getting that lawsuit. His name is David Martinez, and he'd handled Dad's will and some business contracts over the years. Dad trusted him, so I did too. "Monica, I'm sorry to hear about this," David said when I showed him the papers. "But don't worry too much. Your mother has no legal grounds to claim any part of your father's estate." "But she's actually trying to sue me?" "Yes, but that doesn't mean she'll win. Anyone can file a lawsuit. Winning is a different story. We'll fight this." The lawsuit claimed that Mom deserved half of Dad's estate because she had been married to him and had helped raise me for 7 years. Her lawyers were arguing that she contributed to the family and deserved compensation. It was complete nonsense, but we still had to go through the whole legal process. The trial started 3 months later. I was nervous as hell walking into that courtroom. Mom was sitting at the other table with her lawyer, a thin guy in an expensive suit who looked like he thought he was hot stuff. She had the nerve to bring her husband and all 3 kids. They sat in the front row like they were the victims here. The kids kept staring at me with these sad eyes, like I was the villain keeping them from their rightful inheritance. Mom's lawyer went first. "Your Honor, my client was married to the deceased for 8 years. During that time, she helped raise his daughter and contributed to the household. She deserves her fair share of the marital assets." Then he started talking about how Mom had tried to maintain a relationship with me after the divorce, but Dad had prevented it. That was when I almost lost it. She has 3 children who need financial support for education and basic needs, the lawyer continued. Meanwhile, the defendant has inherited millions of dollars that she cannot possibly spend in her lifetime. When it was David's turn, he laid out the real facts. He had copies of the divorce papers, the custody documents, everything. Your Honor, the plaintiff abandoned her 7-year-old daughter, leaving her alone in a house for 2 days while her father was away on business. She ran off with her lover and never contacted her daughter again. She didn't fight for custody, didn't pay child support, and made no effort to be part of this child's life for 20 years. David pulled out bank records, phone records, everything that proved Mom had never tried to contact me. The plaintiff only appeared in the defendant's life after learning about the inheritance. This is not about family relationships or fairness. This is about money, pure and simple. Then the judge started asking questions. That's when things got interesting. Mrs. Williams, the judge said to my mother, "Why didn't you contact your daughter when she turned 18 and was no longer under her father's control?" Mom shifted in her seat. "I thought it was better to let her have a stable life with her father. But you're here now claiming you wanted a relationship with her." "Yes, Your Honor. I always wanted to be part of her life." "Then why did you wait until after her father died and she inherited his estate?" Mom's lawyer jumped up. "Objection, Your Honor. The timing of my client's outreach doesn't negate her legal rights." "I'll allow the question," the judge said. Mom looked flustered. "I heard about the death through relatives and thought it was time to reconnect." The judge wasn't buying it. "Mrs. Williams, why didn't you provide any financial support to your daughter over the past 20 years? But now you believe she should provide financial support to you." Mom couldn't answer that one. She just sat there, opening and closing her mouth like a fish. "And why," the judge continued, "should the court award you half of an estate that was built entirely after you abandoned your family?" That's when Mom lost it. She stood up and started yelling. She doesn't need all that money. She's alone. Nobody cares about her anyway. She's selfish and cold, just like her father was. The whole courtroom went quiet. Even her own kids looked embarrassed. I felt like she'd slapped me. After everything she'd done, she was calling me selfish and cold. She was saying nobody cared about me. The judge banged his gavel. "Mrs. Williams, sit down and control yourself." Her lawyer was trying to calm her down, but the damage was done. The judge looked at all the evidence, looked at Mom, then looked at me. "I find no legal basis for the plaintiff's claim," he said. "The defendant inherited this estate through a valid will from her father, who had full legal right to dispose of his assets as he saw fit. The plaintiff abandoned her parental responsibilities 20 years ago and made no effort to be part of her daughter's life until learning of this inheritance." He paused and looked directly at my mother. "Furthermore, I believe the defendant is fortunate that such a mother abandoned her, as she clearly deserved a better life than the plaintiff could have provided." Mom's face went white. Her lawyer tried to object, but the judge shut him down. Case dismissed. The court awards all costs to the defendant. As we were leaving the courtroom, Mom pushed past her lawyer and got right in my face. "This isn't over," she hissed. "You'll regret this." "Ma'am, you need to back away from my client," David said firmly. Her husband finally came over and pulled her away, but she kept staring at me with pure hatred in her eyes. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. A week later, she somehow got my phone number and started calling me. Then she started texting. The messages were crazy, talking about how I was evil, how I'd stolen her children's future, how God would punish me. I blocked her number, but she got new phones and kept calling from different numbers. Then one day, she showed up at my office. Dad's construction company had a nice building downtown, and she walked right into the lobby with all 3 kids. "I want to see Monica," she yelled at the receptionist. "She's my daughter, and she's abandoned her family." The poor receptionist didn't know what to do. I heard the commotion and came out to see what was happening. "You need to leave," I told Mom. "These children are hungry," she screamed. "You have millions, and they're going without food because of your selfishness." The kids looked mortified. Other employees were staring. It was a complete scene. Security came and escorted her out, but the damage was done. My employees were asking questions, and the whole thing was embarrassing as hell. That's when I called David again. "We need a restraining order," I told him. I was hoping it wouldn't come to that, but I think you're right. David filed for the restraining order the next day. We had to go back to court, but this time it was a different judge, a woman in her 50s who looked like she'd seen everything. "Your Honor," David said, "my client is being harassed and stalked by her biological mother, who has made threats and disrupted her workplace." He presented all the evidence, the crazy text messages, the phone records showing dozens of calls from different numbers, witness statements from my office staff about the scene Mom had caused. Mom's lawyer tried to argue that she just wanted a relationship with her daughter, but the judge wasn't having it. "Mrs. Williams, you lost your lawsuit against your daughter. That should have been the end of it. Instead, you've chosen to harass and intimidate her." "She's my daughter," Mom yelled. "I have a right to talk to her." "You gave up that right 20 years ago when you abandoned her," the judge said coldly. "And you certainly don't have the right to stalk and threaten her." The judge granted the restraining order. Mom had to stay at least 500 yards away from me, my home, and my office. She couldn't call me, text me, or contact me through third parties. "If you violate this order, Mrs. Williams, you will be arrested and charged with contempt of court. Do you understand?" Mom just glared at me from across the courtroom. Her husband looked embarrassed, and the kids looked confused and upset. I almost felt sorry for them. Almost. That was 6 months ago. I haven't heard from Mom since then. I don't know if she's still living in the same place, if the kids are doing okay. Honestly, I don't want to know. People ask me sometimes if I feel bad about not helping those kids. They're innocent, people say. They didn't choose to have a mother like that. And they're right. Those kids didn't do anything wrong, but neither did I. I didn't ask to be abandoned when I was 7. I didn't ask for my mother to disappear from my life for 20 years and then show up demanding money. Dad worked his ass off to build the life we had. He could have fallen apart after Mom left. But instead, he channeled all that pain into making something better. Every dollar he left me, he earned through his own sweat and sacrifice. I'm not going to give that away to a woman who threw me away like garbage. I sometimes ponder what would have occurred if Mom had taken a different tack with me. If she had shown regret at Dad's funeral. If she had requested coffee so they could discuss the past. If she had attempted to make apologies after admitting what she had done to me. She didn't do any of it, though. She concluded that I owed her anything after seeing dollar signs. Despite the fact that she had detested Dad enough to leave his child behind, she felt entitled to his money. Sometimes I think about Tommy, Emily, and Mike, those youngsters. I hope all is okay with them. I hope they receive the necessary education and develop into better adults than their mother. But I'm not accountable for it. It is my duty to pay tribute to Dad and lead the life he desired for me. Because Dad loved me and trusted me to handle it properly, he left me everything. I have maintained the construction company. We're even entering new markets, and Jim is doing a fantastic job as CEO. With the remaining funds, I've made wise investments. I live well without being ostentatious, travel whenever I choose, and donate to charities that are important to me. I'm currently in a relationship. He's a teacher by the name of Marcus. It is to my liking that he is unaware of all the money. Rather than what I received, he appreciates me for who I am. Marcus would have pleased Dad. He is a gentle and honest man who prefers to create rather than destroy. Every day, Dad is on my mind. Every month, I pay a visit to his grave and update him on my life, Marcus, and business developments. I feel a connection to him even though I know he can't hear me. There are moments when the home seems empty. It was intended for a family and is enormous. Marcus and I could eventually populate it with our own children. That would have delighted Dad. I don't give Mom much thought these days. I don't know her at all. All we have in common is our DNA. Genes alone do not constitute a true family. When you need someone, real family comes through. True relatives don't desert you and then demand money 20 years later. My father was my true family. My true family was Grandma. Perhaps Marcus will be as well. There is still a restraining order in place. I don't believe I'll need the papers, but I keep it in my desk drawer in case. I believe Mom has finally realized that I am not her retirement plan. I have lost my anger. Anger wears you out, but I was for a time. When I think of her now, I simply feel nothing. She has no bearing on my life. I have a relationship to maintain, Dad's business to manage, and a future to create. Now, that's what counts. People sometimes advise me to forgive her since harboring resentment is unhealthy. But I don't harbor resentment. I'm only defending myself against someone who has shown herself to be unreliable. Forgiveness and stupidity are two different things. For my own peace of mind, I've forgiven her a long time ago. However, I don't have to give her my father's money or allow her back into my life in order to forgive her.